3 p.m. hour here, and people will be filtering in. And again, if anyone has any questions in the chat or anything like that, or wants to chime in, we're keeping this really informal here. We'll be here until 4 p.m. Feel free to turn on your mic, or if you want to turn on your camera too and speak, you are more than welcome to. But we will kick it off with Owen, who's here with us from the music club. I was really happy to have you here. We know how active music club's been, whether it's through the recitals that you were able to really adjust on the fly last year, and did a fantastic job with that, and continuing it up this year. So first of all, what's music club been up to this semester?
So we meet on WebEx at Fridays at 1:30, and it's just mainly music-related discussions on topics interesting to other students, maybe some performances. Like last week, we had Diana McEntee on.
I remember Diana. Yes, she was an alumni to not only the music club and to the college, but also worked as a student orientation leader for the for student life. So that's great to hear. You know, I think sometimes people realize that music, especially in these times where we're spending more time at home, can almost be therapeutic. And that, can you speak to how nice it is to have this opportunity to meet with students and have music there for students to be able to, you know, just to kind of have in terms of enjoying it, and to kind of cope as they go through this time where we're all spending a lot more time at home?
Yeah, last year when COVID hit, I was, anxious for something to do. And, I was in improv and music club, and all those were canceled. So at the beginning of last semester, I contacted Professor Gargone, and I asked her about how we could meet up this year. And we've just been meeting from WebEx ever since.
And what are some of the fun things that the club has been up to in terms of, you know, when you're in music club together? And I've been down to the meetings before. You have some people in one room doing piano, some people doing other instruments in the other room, some people singing, whatever it might be. What's the flow of the meeting now for a student that might be interested in joining?
Well, it's gee, I'm not quite sure how to answer this. Let's see. So the flow would be it's just really
sure.
Really chill, cool.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear on that front. But in terms of if a student is coming on, now I know we're going to have all sorts of students that might not otherwise, have a lot of background in music. I know that the club has made it, really well known that the club is open to people of all sorts of levels of music. Can you just speak to the kind of students that you have in there, and what their level of interest in music is?
So it can be from anything to rock, pop, or classical, and you don't even have to be able to play an instrument to join. Whether you're just a beginner or you've been playing for years, if you just love music in general, there's a spot for everyone.
Great. And I apologize. I was sending an email to somebody who's trying to attend our meeting session here. I was listening, I promise. And then in terms of you, how did you find music club? And I know you've been a part of this for some time now. Can you just speak to what the benefits of being involved with music club have been to you?
So I started becoming involved in music club. It was in spring of 2019. I was still in high school. So they did at the teen arts thing. They had the open mic session in the student center, and yes. I sang stars from Les Miserables. So
and that just
So when I got to the college the following fall, I just became involved in music club, and it's been a pretty good thing.
And that all kind of translated into all of this here, where now you're an officer in the music club. You've been involved in so many things there. That's fantastic. So can you tell us about the instrument that you have right next to you there?
Yeah, this is a viola. It's for those of you who don't know what a viola is, it's slightly bigger than the violin, but it has a kind of like richer kind of sound.
We're going to let that sound for us in a minute, but I do want to ask, when the campus is generally back on, when the students in the club are usually back on campus, what's it like for if a student wants to try an instrument there? Is it completely available to them, or what are the processes for that?
It depends on the instrument. So if there's a if there's like something at if there's an instrument that they want on the campus, then they're welcome to try that.
Sure.
Otherwise, they would have to bring their own instrument.
Okay. All right. Well, you have a few more minutes left in your time here, so I'd love to hear you give that a try for us here.
Yeah, so on the violin, this is the lowest string. On the viola, this is the lowest string. So I've never really played like a classical kind of repertoire recently. Well, I started out playing classical repertoire, but instead of practicing, I couldn't resist playing, jigs and reels. I'm more of a folk musician.
Well, that sounds fantastic.
That's the kind that I do.
Sure, that sounds fantastic from here. I can only imagine how good it sounds when we're right in person with you and everything on that. Now we know the music. We know the music recital went on last semester. We had the music recital. And we also had again in the spring. Can you give us a preview of some of the things we might be able to expect for this year's music recital?
Yeah. So what we do is we submit student recordings of ourselves performing a piece of music that we have selected, and they compile them into a virtual recital.
Great. Well, and if a student's interested in getting involved in music club, again, just remind us of those meeting times and who they would meet and who they would need to contact to get involved.
We meet on WebEx on Fridays at 1:30, and to join, they would have to contact either myself or Professor Gargone.
Awesome. And I'll put Karen's, Professor Gargone's email, I should say, in the chat there for anyone that's on that would be interested in contacting her there. Also share it, as I mentioned, we'll be putting some of these Q&As up on our official Student Life YouTube channel there, and that will help as well. So Owen, I do want to move on to our next person that we have here, but thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. Feel free to stick around with us here as we have a few more clubs lined up for our afternoon session today. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.